Welcome to the HawkCast with your host, AJ Hawk.
Chris Drama Pfaff. What's up, man? How you doing? Good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, AJ. I appreciate it.
Does anyone ever call you Chris? Or are you, now that you're professional, are you Chris?
Yeah, I would say like now at 31 years old, semi-professional, it's about 50% Chris, 50% drama. But my mom still calls me drama, so it's a little all over the place.
Well, that's kind of weird. Wasn't it Rob, your cousin, gave you the name Drama when you were like 18, 19 years old?
Yeah, but I think when I moved out and then I had that nickname and I was all over, we were doing TV and all that stuff, my mom just adopted it. I didn't see her that often, a couple times a year back in Ohio, and she just started calling me Drama. It was a little weird.
Wow. So let's say you introduce yourself to, say, some old 60-year-old businessman. You're trying to close a deal for Young and Reckless. What do you say when you introduce yourself?
I'm Chris every time.
What do they ever surprise you and say, oh, no, I know you, Drama. Come on.
That has happened. Absolutely.
Well,
there's times when because usually this is what I do. To be honest, what I do now is if I think that the person would be sort of in the demographic that knows me from like TV land or my Instagram or whatever, I'll say Drama. If not, I play it safe and say Chris. But yeah, sometimes people are like, oh, you don't call yourself Drama anymore? And I'm like, okay, fine, I'm Drama.
Yeah, that's I'm sure it's a weird deal when you jump off the screen as an 18, 19-year-old young buck as this guy. Are you almost typecast in that? Do you feel like an actor sometimes who plays a role as a young guy and can't get out of it?
I did for a long time. I think that for a long time when I was starting my clothing brand and I was, trying to be taken a little bit more seriously as an entrepreneur, I think there was a bit of an uphill battle there. But I think that probably lasted, it probably lasted up until about 2 or 3 years ago. Now I don't really feel it hardly ever, but yeah, I definitely did for a while. It bummed me out for a little bit.
Why did it bum you out?
I don't know. I just think like, I never looked at myself as like reality guy, and the funny thing is like the whole reality thing just sort of came about, but it was just my cousin and our friends. Like you're not thinking about it like you're getting a role, right? And so we're sort of messing around and having fun and just trying to create content, and it becomes like larger than life. And so now all of a sudden, of course, the world is going to treat you some way accordingly. But like we never had, especially me, I never had any goal of being like a celebrity or any sort of character. So you just don't realize kind of what you're doing and the scale that you're doing it. So when you do choose to evolve and you get a little older and people stick you in that one time frame, you're like, come on, man, let me evolve. But it was a small problem in the grand scheme of things.
I see you right now. So for most people will download this on iTunes or whatever and listen to the audio, but we do have the video element for the YouTube people. I see you with your forearm, your gripper. You got it in your hand. Yeah, hold on.
That's funny you could see that, man. I thought I was out of the frame.
Like, bro, come on now. I got the same thing right here.
The same thing, bro. I just started working out, right? Because obviously I'm a super skinny dude. I'm trying to put on a few pounds. And my problem is I'm doing these workouts, like shoulder workouts and stuff, and my weak little baby hands can't hold the weights. And so now this is my new, like, I just walk around the office like this.
Did you start working out because you had those mind body dudes on your podcast, Short Story Long?
Oh, that's funny. No, well, not necessarily, but I've had a few guys like them, and that really motivated me. But I think that like I'm just finally to the age. I grew up skateboarding. I was skating every day, all day, and I didn't realize how much physical activity that actually was. So when I stopped doing that a few years ago, I realized I was just sitting at a desk all day and not really doing that much stuff. So I've been reading a lot of books and really trying to, just get better. And it kind of has just led to this unavoidable, like, look, you need to be healthy. And I've always been skinny, scrawny little guy. No matter what I do, I can't gain weight. So I figured, hey, why not try to put on some weight in the meantime and see if I can't look a little more sturdy. You know what I mean?
So where are your offices now, I guess, compared to when you came about and you basically hit the scene running on, was it Fantasy Factory, the first show that you did? Or it was Rob and Big, I guess, when you originally came on TV, right?
Yep. So it started on Rob and Big was where we started doing TV. And then Fantasy Factory is where I was able to finally start my own life, right? Because on Rob and Big is when I was actually Rob's assistant, and I was that in real life and I was that on the show. So in between Rob and Big and Fantasy Factory is when I quit doing that, and Fantasy Factory kind of unexpectedly came about. We thought we were done with reality shows after Rob and Big. So when Fantasy Factory came about, I was like, man, this is my chance to really create something and be able to create a life, outside of reality TV, because that's, like I said, that's not the future that I wanted. So it was the second season of Fantasy Factory when I finally had everything ready and launched Young and Reckless. And I would say my office in the beginning was lit in real life. I mean, on the show, I had like this little closet that was just wrapped in Young and Reckless, and I was in there all day. We were shooting, so I was working in there. But real life, it was essentially my apartment living room with a laptop. Then we actually got our first real office, which was downtown on Washington, which isn't the best part of town. We actually moved because our warehouse got broken into and a lot of our stuff got stolen. But and then finally, about 4 or 5 years ago, we moved to this nice comfy building on Wilshire Boulevard on the 11th floor. Finally made it to like cozy, safe office.
When you got that office, do you feel like you've arrived, like you're finally a legit business?
I think so, yeah, because the main thing is right in front of me. On the other side of my monitor there's these massive windows, and I can see like the Hollywood sign. I can see all of Hollywood. I can even see to downtown and almost over to like Century City. And so, yeah, I think when we first moved into here, and obviously I got the biggest office with the best view. Yeah, I felt real cool, man. I felt like a real businessman.
How many employees do you have now for Young and Reckless?
Right now we have 42.
Jeez, all in that building?
Most. So there's about 8 or 9 that are permanently in our warehouse. Whenever we have like an influx, like a holiday or a big sale, we kind of hire some temporary people. But yeah, other than those 8 or 9 in the warehouse, they're all here in this building.
And now, when you started Young and Reckless, and obviously you were smart enough at a young age to start it while the TV show is going on, the TV show is popular. So yeah, why not wrap your office, get the brand out there? Did someone come to you, or did you kind of have that idea of, hey, I better strike why I have this huge platform to promote?
Yeah, that's what. So what really happened was, like I said, on Rob and Big, I mean, none of us had this goal of being reality stars, right? Like Rob was very entrepreneurial. He was a pro skateboarder. Big Black was his bodyguard and had obviously big dreams, but nobody thought about being a celebrity or being a reality star. The idea came about because those guys were so hilarious, and it just sort of went from this thing to that thing and then into reality TV. And so I think the whole time we were all trying to figure out how to start businesses and how to make money outside of that, because we knew the answer wasn't to just do 100 episodes of reality TV. So me especially, because I was dead broke. I mean, I'm the brokest one of the 3. And also I'm the least like, those guys are hilarious, right? Like they're born entertainers, and that's not necessarily me. So I was really trying to think of any way that I could to create a business and be able to create a life in LA where I was stable and I was comfortable and I didn't have to, worry about the next thing. So it was when Fantasy Factory came around, I was like, man, this is my chance, because Big Black had moved to Texas to raise his daughter. So essentially I'm the second in line. And I knew I was going to have a lot of TV time, and I knew this was my chance. So I went, of course, the first thing I did, I came up with the name. I knew clothing was perfect because I could market directly to the demographic that was watching the show, and then I could sell to stores like PacSun and Tilly's and Zoomies, who were doing so well with like DC and all the brands that we were already wearing on the show. So first I went to Rob and I said, hey man, I have this idea. I want to call it Young and Reckless. He was just super busy at the time, and he's like, man, I can't help you. If you want to do it, figure out how to go do it. So I was obviously, upset because I thought that was like the easy route, but it forced me to go out and really just meet with potential business partners. And I ended up meeting with these guys that are my business partners now. And they had a clothing line nothing like mine called 5'4". They make button-up shirts and denim and stuff like that. And but they had a lot of experience and they knew what to do. And so I took on my whole idea. I had this platform of TV, and it just was kind of a dream team. I got really lucky with those guys, and it worked.
So do the guys that started 5'4", are they initial investors and partners in Young and Reckless?
Their initial partners, yes. The good thing is, and this is a cool story that I always tell, we never had to raise money, because what we did was this. We kind of cheated the system. And this is what I encourage all young people to do now that we have social media, right? Is we had this platform, which was our TV show. Now kids have platforms that are your Instagram page, your Facebook, your blah, blah, blah. So what I did is I spent about $300 on samples of just T-shirts with the logo on it in all different colors. And that was it. That's the only product I ever bought. And so when the show came on the air, I just wore it every day, always. I plastered it all over my little office. I did everything to make sure that Young and Reckless was the most obnoxious, in-your-face thing. And all of our early T-shirts were like bright purple and green and yellow, and like it was so impossible not to miss Young and Reckless. And then what I did is, as soon as we were done filming the first episode that Young and Reckless was going to be in, I went over to the editors, because this was about 3 months before it aired, and I had a really good relationship with those guys. And I got a DVD of that episode. And then me and my business partner drove it down to PacSun in Orange County. And we showed him the DVD, and we said, hey, you know how big Robin Big was? You know how big DC is? This is going to be the next big thing. I'm going to wear this thing all over nonstop on this show. You guys can have it exclusively for 6 months. And all of my social media, I'll even say it on the show. I'll even say PacSun on the show. But you guys have to buy it for all of your doors, which was 600 plus doors at the time. And you have to have it in your stores the day after this episode airs in 3 months. And they were like, okay, deal. And so there was never any debt, right? The first order was essentially printed and drop shipped to PacSun. Now, we still had a lot of rough times, and we still had times when like we thought we weren't going to be able to pay our bills, and like we had to lean on our creditors and stuff. But there was no initial big investment, because we structured it in a way that there was no risk, you know? So, but yes, the point is, they were my partners from day one. So from day one, I said, hey, I don't know how to make clothes. I don't know how to build a sales team. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm on TV. And so I partnered with them. They helped me, and they've just been so good at, like, now I know how to do any of it, right? So now I could go to somebody who has a TV show and start a clothing line with them, but that's only because these guys were so willing to like hop in the trenches with me and share all of it, you know?
Well, yeah, it reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen, it's not similar. I'm not trying to degrade what you did, but if you watch now, they probably copied a little bit of what you did. You look at like the Real Housewives franchise. All those ladies are all starting makeup lines or dresses or swimsuits, and it's the greatest marketing you could ever do, because so many people watch that show, and they're either they love or they hate watch the show, and they will buy. You can sell directly to them.
Absolutely, and I'm not offended at all. It's literally the only thing that I was ever so diehard on was I never wanted to be the star and have Young and Reckless be like my merch or my like product, right? I wanted to be a almost no name business owner, entrepreneur. That's really what I wanted for my life. And then I wanted to use other influencers and artists and athletes and whatever to promote what the brand stood for. So, but at the basis of what that all is, it's exactly the same. I mean, Bethany Frankel with her like skinny girl margarita worth like millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it's over and over. Obviously the Kardashians, it's just, that's the way it goes.
That's the new model. I guess you're right. And now how do these, like, say these YouTube influencers, kids that have these gigantic followings that vlog, I know you've been vlogging too, how do they partner with companies now to where they can sell it basically through their YouTube channels, but how does the money work when these guys partner?
Yep. So the main way that they do it, the most common deal is there's a lot of companies who will make essentially merch for people, right? And their job is to go around and either find influencers or artists or anyone who they think can sell product, or they'll do like meme shirts and, you know, just anything that they think is relevant that they can market. And essentially they specialize in the production, and they can set you up a Shopify account real easy, build you a website real easy. And they're just relying 150% on this person's engagement being so strong that they can sell products. So the way that they do it is they sit down. My only critique, and I don't mean to like hate on these guys, because I'm happy with anyone kind of going and getting their money, but is there's no brand, right? They're kind of killing the idea of a brand or that like depth or what it all means. It's just merch everywhere. But so what they do is they go attach to an influencer or a YouTuber. They whip up some quick designs of their favorite taglines or, you know, whatever they say a lot on their shows. They print it up, they make a Shopify store, sell it, and then essentially they just give these kids, you know, a royalty, let's say an 8% royalty on sales or whatever it is, and they just get checks to their house and says, here, this is from your merch, you know, you're doing well.
Wouldn't it be smart for these guys that have a huge platform to do it on their own and not team up with someone like that?
So yes, I'm gonna especially say yes because that's what I did, but I think that it's all about what you want to focus on, right? It's like my advice would be, you can only focus on, most people can only focus on one thing and truly do it well. I wasn't focusing on reality TV. I was focusing on building a business, and that's why I was able to do it well. These guys want to focus on just making content and going out and being funny and having fun. They don't want to worry about building a business. Because I've also seen people try to be influencers, try to be business owners, try to be this, that, stylists, style icons, musicians, rappers, and you end up being bad at everything. And I think, if you have that big of a following to the point where you can just cash checks for literally doing nothing but saying, go buy my merch at the end, then, more power to you. But I think, if I was one of them, I would do what I did and build up an infrastructure and try to sign other people to that and try to have a bigger, thing.
Who was one of the first, I guess, celebrities or someone that you saw wearing like a Young and Reckless shirt or hat that you got super juiced for when you didn't know? Like, I know you send product out to people at times early on. I'm sure you did it a lot. And you say you saw a picture of somebody. Was there anyone you can think of off the top of your head that you were like, man, all right, I'm really doing it?
Yeah, the biggest one was 50 Cent because I was such a 50 Cent fan when I was like a kid. And so I think he probably first wore it in like 2010 maybe. And the real reason why was because not only was he still like really big at that time, he's huge still, but I'm saying like his music was still really good. Everything was still on point at that time. But we didn't directly send it to him. It ended up getting to him, we found out, by way of like a stylist and a friend and a whatever. And for some reason, he really gravitated to it, which is weird because it's called Young and Reckless, and he was anything but young at the time. But yeah, there was a few pictures of him wearing different shirts and stuff. And I was like, man, how crazy that like 50 Cent, he's not wearing this as like a favor or because I paid him or because whatever. He legitimately got to it in a roundabout way and likes it and is wearing it a lot. And that was a really weird feeling.
Well, the fact that it happened organically has to be huge, or you have to feel good about it, because that's what brands do now to try to, if they can get a picture of, think of any brand, if they get a picture of Kanye wearing their t-shirt, it's the greatest marketing ever. All kinds of people are going to go online and try to find out where they can get that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge. And like obviously 50 Cent's not going to go to PacSun and buy a t-shirt, but the closest thing to that is a stylist thinks it looks kind of cool, picks it up, puts it in his like wide array of options, and he chooses that out of all of them. So it was pretty flattering, like that was the one that really sticks with me.
I've seen where you talked about a friend, I guess, came up with a logo for Young and Reckless. Now, is that friend still in the picture, and does he get a cut?
We're still friends. I don't see him very often. He does not get a cut because the way that it actually went was I said, I came up with the name. It took forever, but I finally landed on Young and Reckless. And then I printed him. He's a graphic designer. And I printed him out a bunch of examples of logos that I liked, like Louis Vuitton, because they're linked, right? The L and the V. And then DC, Chanel, all these logos that were easy to draw and sort of letters linked. And so that's the direction that I gave him, and he came up with the initial YR out of that. So usually when you give that much guidance and kind of commission work, he obviously got paid a fee. I don't remember what it was, maybe $1,000 or something for actually conceptualizing the original thing. But yeah, I was pretty clear on what I wanted, and so I gave him quite a bit of guidance. But he's still my friend to this day.
Well, that's good. That's like one of the, I could. Not saying you exactly like a situation could happen, but when a company blows up, becomes huge, then all of a sudden all these people that claim that they were in on it early will want to come and sue you for a piece of it.
100%. And I mean, I think that happens all the time, especially when people like use people's art or like their art influence a lot. I mean, brands have almost stolen. I guess I don't know very exactly what the deal was, but Christian Audigier took the entire Ed Hardy look from a tattoo artist, Ed Hardy. And I don't know, I'm sure he made a good amount of money, but it's those sort of things where people are like, wait a minute, that was my whole look, and now every kid in the country is wearing this thing. You know what I mean? I could see how you'd be not happy.
Speaking of Ed Hardy, how do you guard yourself from not becoming like another Ed Hardy or Affliction? I've talked about it. I do a lot of radio on Sirius, and people will talk about embarrassing things. I'm like, man, I had a few of those like Affliction, Ed Hardy rhinestone shirts for a little while, and there's pictures, I've had a few of them with me on. I'm like, man, for some reason that thing took off for 2, 3, 4 years, and then just bam, now no one's caught dead in it.
So true, man. If I'm being 100% honest with you, giving my honest guidance, I would say that you really can't fully protect it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that if you want to build a business to a good size, my goal has always been to build this thing as big as it can be while remaining in my control. Like, I look at it as a business that I want to run for a very long time. And I want to make money off of it, but I'm not looking to make $200 million off of this thing, you know? So, you want to blow it up and you want to put it in stores and distribute it and get it out there. But I think at a certain point, you can't control if something just becomes this wild, crazy trend. My real advice would be if you get an Ed Hardy accidentally and you see it absolutely catching fire, that's the time when you should look at selling it, you know, and letting someone else take that risk and take the money and have a great life and conceptualize the next thing. Because I think what's more tragic is these people have these big moments, and almost every time they convince themselves that they're the next biggest brand in the world forever and they're untouchable, and they don't look at history and see what happens with fashion and with trends. And you just think that you're the genius who came along and solved it all, and you're the smartest person ever to touch the clothing business. And it's just not true. And so every time they have this horrible crash, and if the original founders don't get out, they end up usually riding the ship down, you know? So I would say, do the best you can. If you get an Ed Hardy or you get a Tap Out or Affliction or whatever, just sell it. Let someone else take all that risk. You know what I mean? And enjoy your lucky break.
Yeah, or try to, I guess it's very difficult, but try to evolve and change it up a little bit to where it's not so gaudy. What got them on the map, it was so, you could see it everywhere. Wherever you walk, they're very noticeable when someone was wearing like an Ed Hardy shirt or whatever. I guess, I don't know, tone it down a little bit and try to change the look and evolve with how everything's going.
Yeah, you want me to tell you why it's so tough and why that's why I kind of preface by saying, like, this is my honest answer, is because I know how it works, where like sometimes the shirts of ours that have sold the best are my absolute least favorite, and I think they're disgusting. But what happens is when you, and that was a little harsh, but I mean, you know, I'm just like, oh, that thing really.
Yeah, it's your brand, man. It's all right.
Yeah, but what happens is when you catch fire, retailers and all the people that you do business with don't want you to evolve. They push you to absolutely max out because they don't want to take the risk on your new look or your new evolution. They want to keep buying what's working. And so they will buy it. And when you are on fire, man, every retailer that you come across will buy everything you have as long as it's that look. And so what happens is you end up getting in over your head without even thinking. And the moment you try to say, well, hey, here's our new look and we're evolving a little bit, they're like, no thanks, until you crash, and then they just don't answer their phone anymore.
Yeah, and then it's like, what do I do now? I didn't have a backup plan. This was taken off. I got all this cash coming in monthly, and then bam, it hits, and it becomes like the joke, like Nickelback is an example. Nickelback's like the band that people love to kill for some reason.
It's so true, man. Whatever you do, don't get Nickelbacked, man. It's the worst thing. But yeah, for us, I mean, one thing that we did is it was me and my business partners. Neither of us, even, you know, these guys aren't part of some big like clothing like conglomerate. Like there was no strategy to blow this thing up as big as you possibly could while we had it. Like we always kept it under our control. We always kept it relatively small, like for how big the brand was. I think a lot of people know what Young and Reckless is, and it's actually not really that over distributed. So we always kept it like within our grasp, you know, not to say that if it became the hottest thing in the world, I wouldn't have rode that train, but we always kept it like safe, and we benefited because of it, you know.
Where do you see most of your sales coming from? Would it be more like the retail and the actual brick and mortar stores, or are you doing more through your Instagram, your website, like direct to consumer?
So we're 9 years old now, and up until literally this year, it was far, far, far above and beyond retail, you know, using other retailers, PacSun, Macy's, Zumiez, those guys. We switched about 2 years ago. We put all of our, you know, because we saw this retail crash coming, and a lot of our retailers started having trouble, and you know, orders were getting kind of weird, you know, and it's because, you know, people are having trouble and people start closing doors. And PacSun, one of our biggest retailers, filed for bankruptcy and restructured their whole thing and closed 20 or 200 doors. And we saw the trouble coming. So about 2 years ago, we just put all of our effort into our e-commerce store. And we put all of our money into it, all of our marketing into it, everything. And so finally last year was the first year where we were about 50-50, our e-commerce and other people's retailers. And this year will be 70-30, our e-com and other retailers, but and continue to be able to grow through that, and still be. Last year was still the biggest year we've ever had, and this year will be also, but it's changing quick.
Yeah, I feel like the whole model is different now. I can't remember the last time I've been to a mall to try to buy anything really, especially if I'm buying athletic clothes or T-shirts or hats. Maybe if you're walking by, but you're not going to. I don't think many people, especially young kids that grow up with it, aren't going to drive to brick and mortar stores. I feel like everything's so easy on your phone. Bam! I've only been on it. I've put off getting on Instagram for a long time. I finally got on there. I'm not real active, but even the ads that come across my Instagram feed, I've bought things. I'm like, man, this is legit. They're marketing directly to me. They know what I want. I feel like that's where everything is going now.
Oh, it's so true, man. It's dead. I mean, the idea of a kid going and not even going and shopping. Kids used to go to the mall because it was the cool place to go hang out, and then you're just by nature shopping because you're there, and that is just dead. And kids they spend so much time on the phone and on Instagram and on whatever that they know what they want. They know what brands are cool. They know what people they want to dress like. They know exactly the look, and so they go and buy that. Even the idea of going and browsing around the limited selection that a mall even has as compared to the whole internet is already sounds absurd, and it's not going backwards. It's not slowing down. The whole thing is completely changed.
So for you guys, as you grow though, how do you work? I guess, do you have huge stacks of inventory? Did you start out drop shipping? Like, how do you do that now?
So we're obviously carrying more inventory than we've ever had to, because with e-commerce, you have to have it on deck. You can't just ship it. Like a lot of times the printable business, which is like printed T-shirts, printed hoodies, stuff where you're buying blanks, printing on it and shipping. When you're doing that for big retailers, it is heaven. I mean, it is the best business ever because it's all margins. You're not taking on any inventory. You're essentially taking orders. If I got an order for 20,000 T-shirts, the blanks are already there. So you just print that graphic on the 20,000 T-shirts and ship it straight to them from the printer. I mean, there was a couple of years there when it was just heavenly. But as we get into way more cut and sew and stuff from all over the world and whatever, we do have to stock more of it. So we've gotten a new warehouse recently and added more space for all of our stuff, but we're just extremely agile, right? So like seasons don't exist in clothing anymore. So it used to be you design spring a year early, you shop it to all the buyers, you know what you're making, you pre-book it. Great. Now it doesn't exist. Obviously, you want more wintry clothes in the winter and lighter clothes in the summer. You do know that, but we design and order based on how quick it can get here and what we need now. And then at any given time, like literally today, because it's Monday, we're looking at what worked on our website last week. And let's say out of nowhere, our sweatpants are just killing it. We go right now today. These guys are designing the best follow-up group of sweatpants they can, and we're placing the order for more today because we see that as a possible trend. And that happened to us really big with denim. We started making denim. And we do denim 2 for $70. We hit a really good price and it's really cool, good looking denim. But to be honest, when we first did it, we thought we were going to get our butts kicked because we thought we were going to order this like test run of denim and it was just going to tank. And we were just going to be sitting on all this denim. And it ended up, and that has happened to us with other categories, but it ended up working and it ended up working really well. And so we couldn't design denim fast enough. And we were just every day, more styles, more looks, more washes, everything, and just rode it as fast as we could. And then the things that don't sell that just sit there, you either do a big sale. We do a mystery box sale where you get 5 items for $30, or, sometimes you send stuff to off-price places and stuff like that and you dump it, but you just got to move quick. It's a lot different of a game than before.
If you go back 10 years in your life, would say you're 20, 21 years old, did you ever foresee that you would know this much about the fashion industry?
Oh man, no, I don't think I could. I mean,
do you love it? I mean, it sounds like you do love everything that goes about designing and all the inner workings. Like, do you love doing all of the grunt labor?
I do, man. I really do. I will say this about myself, honestly, is I've always been a humble guy. Like I've never really had a phase. I've looked like it probably on Instagram, but I've never really had a phase where I was like really feeling myself or thought I was the smartest guy in the world. I learned pretty early in life that what I really love is learning and applying and taking my wins and losses and then learning and applying and learning and applying. And I noticed that the moment when I feel like I either know it all and I can relax, or I just get tired and I want to relax, is when I feel the worst. I feel the best when I'm actively learning and applying it. And so now ending up sort of, I think any industry I would have got into, I would have done this. But now that I sit here and talk this much about fashion and the apparel industry, it's like I'm surprised because all of this knowledge is kind of the byproduct. But I'm not surprised because I'm just actively absorbing as much information that I can and trying to apply it, you know?
Do you have any
That's why I gotta soak in all this fitness knowledge.
You're going to be jacked, man. How much do you weigh?
Right now I am 154.
Gee, how tall are you?
6'1".
Jeez.
Skinny as shit.
150. Okay. I'm trying to think. And I'm not an overly big guy. I was 150 last when I was a freshman in high school.
Jesus Christ. And how tall were you then?
A freshman, I was probably 5'10". I'm barely 6'1" right now.
What are you now weight-wise?
240.
Yeah, see, my goal was 160 by the end of the year, but now that I'm actually lifting and like eating and doing all this stuff, I think I'm going to knock that out of the park. I think if I could get to 175, I'd be like a whole new dude. People would be like, who the hell is Drama 2.0?
It's like Dave Chappelle. He's kind of jacked now.
Yeah, like Dr. Dre. Remember when he went through his like transformation? But
he seems to be that way.
Skinny little Ohio, a little, you know what I mean?
Are you from Akron, Cleveland? What area?
Akron.
Right up there. Okay. You a big LeBron guy?
I am, just because, right? Like I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I mean the fact that he grew up. I remember when he was in high school at St. V, and I was he's I think 2 years ahead of me, and like everyone was buzzing about how good he was, and I just wasn't a basketball fan, so I didn't care. I didn't know he was going to become LeBron James. But so just for the sake of I see what it does to that city and that town, I mean, it changes those people's lives, that energy. So yeah, I support it.
Yeah, it does, until he comes out there and joins you in LA next year when he leaves the Cavs again.
I think it's coming. I feel bad. I think it's coming.
Really? You think he's going to make it?
I do, man. I don't know. I just feel that's just how I feel. I feel that energy kind of coming. And I was just talking to my friend about, he came here over the weekend because he was playing the Clippers and Lakers, and like the courtside seats were like abnormally star-studded, you know, because it hasn't been that crazy because the Lakers have been sucking and, you know, the Clippers are kind of whatever, but it was like packed with superstars. And I think it's all people like, come on, LeBron. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a local like multi-millionaire dude who took out billboards. There's billboards around the city that say LeBron, but spelled LABRON, just trying to like, you know.
I saw those Yeah, I saw him pop up. I know he's got a place out there in LA. You're right. And maybe he feels, yeah, they were just in LA, the Cavs were, and you're right. I saw some clips of the game, and I think they got beat by the Lakers. But you're right. He's trying to – the Lakers need to be back to that, like the way they were when Kobe was in his prime. I went to one game. My wife got like a birthday gift one year, and she's big on like experiences. And we got, not courtside, we had good low seats to watch the Lakers play when Kobe was rolling. And I think the game went triple overtime, and I was like, I don't want this thing ever to end. Like, it was amazing. Yeah. And it was like that. Obviously, Jack Nicholson is a staple there, but there were so many people that it was just a completely different feel than any other NBA arena ever, I feel like.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine, like, you can obviously relate a lot more to athlete life than I can, but I would have to imagine that it would be pretty incredible to be able to live in LA, have a house in Brentwood, play here. Like, that just quality of life just seems like it'd be a lot better. I mean, I don't blame him, you know. I want Cleveland to keep winning, but living in Cleveland is also tough.
Do you get back to Ohio much?
I do about 2 or 3 times a year. Not as much as I should, man. I need to start going more. And especially now that my parents are getting older, and like, I just feel like as you become an adult, you start to spend a little bit more time with your parents. But yeah, probably 2 times a year.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, you're a busy dude. What about your parents? Do they have any Do they have any kind of role in what you do out there with Young and Reckless?
Man, my parents cannot even wrap their heads around what the hell my life is.
Do they ever
You know what I
come
mean?
out? Do they ever come out and come to your office and see what you're doing? You're the big boss man. You're CEO running things. Do they ever come out and just look in awe that this is like their little baby boy doing all this?
Yeah, they definitely do, and they're definitely incredibly proud, and like that makes me so happy. And like my mom will bring like cookies. My mom will send cookies from Ohio to my staff at Young and Reckless, and like they're like, "Oh, this is so cool," and they love them, but like she doesn't quite know how to, you know what I mean? Like she doesn't know even what this means or how to do it, so she does the best she knows, which is sending cookies. But they're definitely like incredibly proud. I've been able to do some really cool stuff for them, like financially, and get them cars and stuff like that. That I think is a huge help. But yeah, I think that like, you know, I know a lot of people grow older and they kind of talk to their parents still about what's going on in their life and what problems they're having. And my parents could not begin to wrap their heads around the type of stuff that I deal with on a weekly basis. You know?
I'm sure. How did they? I guess how was your relationship with them? Like after you move out to LA, it seemed like it happened pretty quickly. Where all of a sudden you're a TV star. You're highly recognizable. Guys know who you are. I feel like Rob Big, Fantasy Factory, those were, I don't know a whole lot of what MTV is doing now. Is Rob still doing ridiculousness?
Yeah, he's still going.
Wow. Okay.
They're still working on new seasons.
Man, so yeah, I mean he's killing it. But that, I feel like Fantasy Factory and Rob Big that was one of the last that just hugely followed shows on MTV, at least. MTV is obviously not what it once was. It gets lost in the shuffle with everything else almost. But the platform you had, were you guys aware of how many people you were reaching?
Man, I was just talking about that the other day, and I think the answer is like yes and no. So when you're in the middle of it, obviously you feel it, and you feel that, especially those guys, like you can't go anywhere, you know, and everyone recognizes you. And we would always say that the thing about that type of fame is it's a lot more intrusive or like overbearing than being like a movie star or someone who's much more famous than we are. Because if you're walking through the mall and you see Matthew McConaughey, you might be like, hey man, I love your movies and I love that one character, but you don't think that you actually know him. With our type of fame, you have been in our kitchen, our living room, our bedrooms. Like you think that you really know us on a personal level. So people won't hesitate to run up on you or, you know, bring up something from an episode or whatever. So it feels very overbearing. So I think at the time, like, yeah, we knew that we were obviously like really connecting with people, but it's not until I look back at it and I'm like, man, like that thing was really a like cultural, like almost everyone watched it or knew what it was. And there's very few things, especially now that everything's so segmented with social media and everyone kind of handpicks what they want to follow. There's very few things that everyone watches. And that was one of those. And it's pretty insane. I mean, that was just a
it was the perfect mixture of the people tune in because they want to watch the people, the relationships, you guys all, how you work together. But then at the same time with Fantasy Factory, the building alone was like every dude's dream. Like this is if I had unlimited money and I built a place where I could hang out and have fun and do all kinds of things to make cash. Like this is what you build.
It's so true, man. It was dead. It was literally like Richie Rich or something, you know?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Rob always used to call himself like it was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory or something, but he just, yeah, I mean, and really to be honest, that credit goes to him. Like he's just a genius in that stuff, and he doesn't see sort of limits. You know, I think a lot of people think, oh, that's what I would do. But if you actually were given a clean slate, I don't know that we could conceptualize most of that stuff. Like he just dreams stuff up, even to this day. I mean, I spent Friday night with him just hanging out and brainstorming and talking, and it's just the way he lives is just in this creative, like super space, and that's what he did, and he was able to accomplish it and pull it off, and it really translated like everybody's dream.
Was he like a mentor to you? He was a pro skater, and yep. I know you were a skater as well, but you don't see a whole lot of skaters cross over the way he did to where he's a super successful entrepreneur. I know yep. Tony Hawk has all kinds of things going on, but there's a ton of great skaters out there, but they just skate and do their thing. They don't get this platform and just continue to grow.
Yeah, he definitely was. And I would say he was more like like a big brother to me, really, because I came here when I was 18, and I just learned. It's almost like I learned a lot about basic life and all that stuff from my parents and how to be a good person and kind of the basic stuff. But I would have never known how to navigate the actual like personal realities and pitfalls of this crazy life had it not been for him, really. And I think that like I was lucky enough to have a lot of business mentors, even my business partners who were in fashion 10 years before I was, and a bunch of people in music and all these different people. I've soaked up a lot of information, but on a personal level, he was really like my, like my second stage of life, big brother. Because I didn't know him growing up. Growing up, I didn't know him at all. He's 13 years older than me, and he moved to LA when he was 16. So when I was 3, and so I didn't. When I moved out here, it was kind of like meeting this relative that exists, but you don't have to make connection with, right? Like we could have been like, "Hey, man, nice to meet you," and then or "Nice to see you," and then kind of went our separate ways. But we just became really close, and I'm really fortunate for that, like relationship,
What made you move out there? Was it almost like, was he doing a favor to your parents to help you out, to let you come be his assistant, or what? How'd that work out?
No, it was really that. So I grew up skateboarding, and skateboarding was my whole life. It's all I did from like age 10. And LA is the skateboard capital of the world. So up until I knew the moment I graduated high school, I was moving to LA. I had dedicated, like I skipped the day of school where everyone took their SATs and their ACTs because I knew there was no chance I was going to college. I was going straight to LA. And so that's what I did. And really my goal was to like work at a skate shop. I mean, being 100% honest with you, the biggest I could dream was that I would work at a skate shop and make enough money to have a studio apartment in LA and be able to just like hang out and skate and drink beers whenever I wanted. Like that was dream life from little kid from Akron, Ohio. And the way that it went down with him is I came out and we obviously started hanging out and spending some time together. And we just, like I said, we kind of built this like big brother, little brother relationship. And then he had an assistant that was lined up to start right before I went back to Ohio for Christmas to come back. And the guy quit, couldn't do it. His girlfriend wouldn't let him move to LA. He was coming from San Diego, wouldn't let him move to LA to do it. And Rob literally came out and was like, "Hey, man, do you want to be my assistant?" And I was like, "Shit, man, I don't even know what an assistant is. Like, I don't even know what I do." And he's like, "You might as well give it a shot, because if not, what else?" And I'm like, "All right, so I'll try it." And then I just started doing it, man. And it worked. I'm not saying I was the best assistant, but I did the job. And then it was about a year after that Rob and Big got picked up, and I worked my way into that. And so we kind of just went on this crazy journey together. But yeah, that's what started. I was perfectly content with, living in the valley and living in an apartment, I thought.
Yeah, you might get back to that after everything continues to blow up. You'll be 60 and you're like, "Man, I just want to get my own little studio, drink some beers, and not have to take 48 phone calls an hour and return emails all night."
That's so true. The problem is now I'm addicted to it, right? Like I always say, like at some point this will chill out, but like, I love it, man. It's when I relax that I'm the most crazy.
Do you ever get out of LA? Do you ever, like, where do you go to relax or vacation and try to get away?
A little bit. So I was terrible at vacations my whole like younger life. Now I'm a little better. I love like going to Hawaii, for instance, because it's a 5.5 hour flight from here. I love Cabo. That's an hour and a half from here. So easy. But I don't know. I'd say if I'm lucky, about once a year, I go for 4 days somewhere and just try to chill out and read. And I like to sit on a beach. But I don't know, man. I know it's a little cliche and a little, sometimes even a little cheesy, but like I legitimately love my life and I love working, and I don't go home feeling stressed or like I'm having panic attacks or whatever. Like I've got it kind of figured out and I'm pretty well rounded. And it's when I relax for too long, that's when I feel nuts. I don't know. It's weird, but I think as I get older, my goal is to like travel a little more. I haven't traveled internationally too much. So just little stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm just gonna keep being crazy.
No, I think that's pretty normal for successful people. That's a normal mindset. I think a lot of guys feel that way.
Yeah.
People that do things and create like you do. What about, so when you came out to be his assistant, does it pay well to be an assistant?
No, heck no. So my deal with him now, my deal with him then, I said, I'll say it now. There was a long time when I didn't feel right, but now I think 10 years later, it's okay to say. My deal was, I would get a studio apartment. I got a car, like I was renting a car or leasing a car, and then I got $500 a month. But I didn't care at all, right? So like now looking back on it, $500 a month was really hard to like live on. And I remember I was like trying to bet my friends and like trade in his old skateboards to get shoes and like, like doing all these little hustles. But like for me, I thought I had hit the lottery. So I didn't think about it as bad, but no, assistants aren't usually, especially with no skill set, no education. Like I'm not a very high level hire.
What about your assistant now? I emailed with your assistant. Does he get a studio and a lease?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he has a better deal than I did, but it's still not, he's not making the big bucks, but he is getting treated a little bit better than I was.
Yeah, I guess at least a studio apartment, at least that's not cheap in LA, regardless of what part of LA.
No, I mean, at the time I remember mine was $800, but now that's like $1,300, and it's definitely not cheap. I mean, and here's the thing, even a studio apartment in LA, a car lease and $500 anywhere else in the country is a pretty good job. It's just LA that's like rough, Yeah,
it is. You've talked a little bit about a mistake. You said you made $150,000 marketing mistake with somebody back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever gone public with who that was?
So I don't want to say who it was, just because I feel like it seems mean to me. It's not about me. I don't care about saying I made the mistake, but it seems mean because I still have a relationship with them. But I don't want it to be taken like they were a mistake because it was my fault. But it was simply that I did a deal. So at the height of when Young and Reckless was just doing really, really well, and we were trying to crank out these deals. And what happens is the brand gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so you keep feeling like you need to do these bigger and bigger projects to support that level of distribution. And we went to somebody who was just, a star at the time and paid them a really big advance. And so the goal was, we're going to give you an advance and a fee for doing all this stuff for us. We're going to do a collection together. We're going to do all this marketing. And then we're both going to recoup, I'm going to recoup my costs, and then we're going to make some money on top of it. And it just wasn't right for the brand. And what I really learned was it doesn't matter how hot you are, how many clothes you're selling, and even how hot that person is. If people don't believe that the two things match and there's no reason why you're working together, it's going to just catch a brick. And that's what we did.
Did you know early on that it was not, it wasn't a hit?
Yeah, right away, man.
Really? How? Yeah. Like, what's like the first event? Like, what kind of events or what do you do with them?
So I'm going to be honest, in the beginning, so still in that time was when like Facebook was big, Instagram was just starting, it was early on, and you can feel it, right? So you can feel when you post like a trailer that you're working with someone or that someone stopped by the office, you can feel the engagement and just the energy about if that's right and that's connecting with your pre-existing audience or not. And it just didn't feel right. Nobody really cared, and you could feel it was a little quiet. And then we did some little pop-up events and stuff like that, and those were okay, but that's a really limited thing, because if you do an event in LA and 100 people show up, that could be good. You don't really know, but you're trying to sell, 50,000 units of something. So it wasn't until we really shipped and started to get early sales numbers, because with a project like that, you've marketed it, you've built it all up, you send it out, and so usually the first week is the biggest week, because the hype is built up. And so when that first week is not looking good, that it's going to be a rough second week and third week. And,
Does that make you hesitant when you moving forward after that to try to do partnerships with guys like that or ladies?
No, because I just feel like it's the worst thing you could do. Just to make the sports reference, I think that it's like as if you were, playing football or basketball or something and got injured, and the worst thing that you can possibly do is play scared from that point on, right? And I think you want to play a little smarter, and you want to look at why you got injured and make sure you build your body right and play right. But I think playing scared is the worst thing that can happen to someone like that. So yeah, I mean, it hurt, but I would say that it truly made me more realistic, and it made me really take time and plan stuff out a little better, and not just think like, oh, we're hot, they're hot, let's do it, it'll be hot. Like this, it just doesn't work like that, and no one's immune to catching a beating.
Yeah, let me throw $150K at Denzel Washington, and we're gonna blow up. It's gonna make us $10 million in the first month.
Why not, right? Yeah. But people can sniff it out. They're like, no, that makes no sense.
How do you make it natural? Are you upfront that this is an ad campaign basically, and this person is getting paid, or do you try to morph those to where people don't really know?
The biggest thing that I do is, so first of all, now what I do is I just have a steady stream of meeting people. So like I meet with new artists, like the type of people that we would want to work with. I meet with whoever I can that's currently blown up and relevant. And I've been doing this stuff for a long time now. So I'm able to be around a lot of, big artists, medium artists, whatever. And so I start by just seeing if I can't build a relationship. And the people that you click with, in the beginning, you're more likely to truly connect with. And then I'll send them clothes and I'll see if they wear it or if they even care, if it makes it past their doorstep of all the boxes that they're getting from everyone else. And so you kind of can go through a little bit of a test period that way to see if you guys even really connect. Then from there, I think that, I think it's about, for me, it's really about, am I able to actually add any value for you, right? So let's just say I was doing a project with you. And I know that you already have fans and you already have people that like what you do and they're fine how they are. Am I really adding any value? Am I doing a video piece that shows why you're reckless or what about your life is, where's the dedication and the time you wake up in the morning and this, that, and Young and Reckless working with you actually added value? If I can come up with that and we have a good connection, it's pretty likely that the thing's going to work. But if I feel like I'm just literally throwing money at you and asking you to wear a t-shirt, chances are we're screwed.
Yeah, and telling them, hey man, can you tweet twice this week and try to do it Tuesday at 8 a.m.?
You're done. The moment you're looking at a contract obligation and saying, hey man, you owe us an Instagram post, you are screwed.
That's how it is, man. Like there's so many marketing things now to where people, you have to be, I remember when it first came about, to where marketing deals started to come, and if you didn't have Twitter and Instagram and everything, it would start. Twitter was the main one when it first kind of began, to where marketing deals usually like, okay, you have 2 appearances with this company and whatever. Now you have 2 appearances, 2 tweets in the first four weeks, and then 3 tweets and an Instagram post, and they're all worked into the deals now for any kind of marketing deal you do with anyone, especially I know for athletes. It's a given. You have to be on those platforms.
Yeah, it is so true, man. It literally, I always say like the in-store like autograph signings and the things in person have been replaced by social media obligations. When we started out, we did a big deal with Meek Mill, like our second year, and it was, you owe us 3 autograph signings and 1 performance and this and that. And I would never do that type of deal now. It would be like, you owe us 5 posts and an Instagram live and a takeover on, and that's just the reality of how it's changed. And it's just so true. But the same way that back when we used to do those in-store appearances and stuff, if you had to force people to get there and they're 2 hours late and they're just not wanting to do it, you're probably screwed. But if they're like excited and you guys are naturally friends and working together, you're probably going to be in good shape, But kids are smart now, man. They know that this is a setup, and they know they're being marketed to. Like they're just not that. They're not stupid.
No, they're not. It's you're right. They sniff it out real quick. People like to say how young and stupid kids are, but they maybe in certain aspects, yeah, maybe they can't have a conversation in person with somebody. You can't sit down and have coffee with them. They don't. Yeah, it's like you're talking to a zombie, but they can sniff out. Like they can sniff out when something is not authentic. 100%.
Yeah, they just have like this weird intuition that we didn't have when we were younger,
Yeah, like Jake Paul, that YouTube dude, fell off the map, man. You ever do anything with him?
I'm going to be honest, I can't stand those kids.
Jake and Logan.
Logan.
Wait, which one showed the hanging video?
Logan.
The older brother.
Yep. Yeah, I don't like it, man. I just don't like it. I very rarely will say kind of openly like, hey, I don't like what you're doing or what they're doing. I just think that like, doing those sort of things, like showing videos of a guy who committed suicide and like Jake Paul, just causing absolute mayhem, like for his neighbors. I mean, that's right down the street from our office, and like setting stuff on fire in his pool. And like, it's just promoting. And I'm also the last person to judge what anyone's doing. Like I could not possibly care less. What I don't like is when you become that famous and you're making that much money off of kids strictly for how loud can you be, how in your face can you be, how just obnoxious can you be, and there's no skill set or good or anything in any of it, that I think is like dangerous and not good. So yeah, I don't associate with those guys.
Yeah, the Logan Paul, they're both Ohio kids as well from
I know.
Northeast Ohio.
I posted a thing because Jake Paul made merch, and he literally, you can see it, it's on my Instagram, but he took an exact, like I mean exact, sleeves, everything of a Young and Reckless hoodie design, and instead of Reckless, he wrote Paulers, which I guess is the name of his like little fan base or whatever. And I tweeted it and wrote like, damn, Jake, I thought we were Ohio brothers, man. Like I thought we were just immune from this sort of thing. And yeah, I didn't hear back, but
see, I think
guess the Ohio thing doesn't work for the Paulers.
I guess not. Well, they're truly LA guys. They've been there for a couple years now.
Yeah.
So what's really weird, I had Logan, the older brother, on here a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And obviously all that stuff came out where he basically committed by showing a video of a guy in that suicide forest or whatever, and also wearing some stupid hat. Just how he went about it was just awful.
Yeah.
And this was way before, when I had him on was way before. People have reached out to me and said, hey, are you going to take that off your podcast feed on iTunes that you had Logan Paul? I was like, I don't know, man. If anyone's really going back that far to find it,
yeah,
I can put a disclaimer. I can put something on here. Hey, this was recorded 2 years before he showed a dude hanging in China or Japan, wherever it was.
Yeah.
But
I think that's insane, right? I mean, like, people are so crazy. Someone does something wrong and there's backlash, but like people get so crazy with it that they'll like hunt people like you down and be like, come on, man, delete that.
Yeah.
You support suicide?
Yeah, because every person I have on here, I support every decision they make.
For the rest of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Moving forward, some 21-year-old kid I had on, 20-year-old at the time probably. Yeah, I endorse everything about him, no matter what happens.
It was pretty much your fault, AJ. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I enabled him. I was an enabler, I guess.
Yeah, you did.
I let him talk about his future plans and taking over the universe. And then his little brother Jake actually jumped on towards the very end. He popped in because I think they were living together. And then Jake took off right after that. And Jake was on a show that my kids watch, Bizarredvark. Jake's an actor on there.
And he got kicked off of that, right? Or he got kicked off the Disney show?
He got booted straight off of Disney. I think that's when it started to go off the rails, and he just went full just rogue, whatever his little followers are. But Logan Paul's an interesting situation to where you felt like YouTubers, people that kind of created this own thing is, hey, it's just me, it's my channel. I don't really have any big corporations I'm tied to. But he was one of the first persons I've seen that he showed like, no, it can go wrong. You can still get a ton of your revenue taken if you do mess up, because YouTube, didn't they stop selling ads on his channel?
Yep. Yeah, they shut it down completely. First, they took him off of preferred after the suicide video. So if you get crazy views, you're on like a preferred list and you make a better rate for all the ad sales. So they took him off of preferred. And then he did another video, like his first video back, where he was like tasing dead rats or something on his balcony. And I think after that, they just cut all of his rev share. But yeah, man, I mean, I think that they're just the epitome of, we live in this wild, wild west sort of time when you can build your own thing and do your own thing, but you still can't go that far. Like, you still have to have some level of morals and some level of good in what you're doing, or else you're going to get screwed. I mean, nobody's completely invincible.
Yeah, no
Unless
question.
he did his own site. If he did his own site where he charges for his content, some people do that. Like, you pay $20 a month and you get all the unlimited content you can. He can literally do whatever the heck he wants. But obviously that's not the move.
Do you think that model work? Like, having a paywall, I feel like when there's so much free content out, just podcasts in general. I know some people have a paywall for episodes, and they do. Do you have a paywall for yours?
No, I wish. I mean, it seems cool in theory, right? Like, people talk about it and I'm like, damn, that seems incredible, but I don't believe in it, and I don't believe it works. And I believe the moment you do it, you just kill your whole fan base,
It doesn't matter if it's 25 cents. I still feel like, bam, you're going to lose 80% of your following. It's true. Why? I can download free 3-hour Joe Rogan podcasts that are the best audio and video quality there is for free. Why does this person think they can charge when they don't have nearly the following?
It's so true, man. I mean, it's so hard to get people to click an extra link for free. To say like, hey, click here. Like, that's almost impossible, right? So like, I just think charging when, exactly what you're saying, when there's so much content and so much really, really good content for free, I don't see how it works. But that's the only way that I can think of where you're literally completely immune to anyone being able to like cut your, you own it 100% then, but I don't think that would work.
Yeah, it's not a thing. Just a couple more for you, man, and I'll let you get back on your business. Big Black. When did Big Black die?
That was, I think like 6 months ago.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It was only that long. So I only got to meet him. I met him once at this charity event in Nashville, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and man, he was the man. He was so awesome, and it was this like so-called celebrity waiter event where we went and we waited tables for people, and you could do all kind of stuff to get them to donate more money. And Big Black was like Michael Jackson in there. How he was entertaining the people, and I got to see him before while we were hanging out before we all went in and talked to him. He seemed like a big sports fan. Talked about his daughter a bunch, and he was just the greatest dude. I remember going and finding my wife when she came down later. I was like, Big Black's here, man. I was like, he's the best ever. You got to meet this dude. And he was so cool the whole night. I kept running into him and talking to him, and I was like, you're better than the guy I've even like on TV. You're the most likable person on the planet. And I met him in person. I was like, man, he's a true, like one of those guys. You do want to meet the people that you look up to.
It's so true, man. He was the epitome of that. And I mean, I don't even know. He was such a like, the same way I almost say that like if Rob became like a brother to me, because you got to understand, when I moved out here, I was 18 years old. I got out of the car from the airport. I went into Rob's house for the first time, and it was like Big Black out on the balcony barbecuing. And Rob there. I mean, when I first moved here, that house was exactly how it looked on Rob and Big. I mean, people jumping in the pool and barbecuing, and just the funnest thing ever. And Big Black lived there. And so I don't know. I guess if Rob was my brother, he was like a very close cousin or maybe uncle or whatever. But man, he gave me so much like real life knowledge about things that were going on, even dealing with like early girlfriends and stuff like that. And not to mention, everywhere you went, you were always safe. Like I would go to clubs when I was 19 years old because he would literally walk in front of me. And when the bouncer or the door guy would ask for my ID, I looked like I was 12. He would just look at the guy and be like, yo, he's good. And they'd be like, all right, he's good. Like, we don't know who this kid is, but if this guy says he's good. And he would just always make sure everyone was good around him. And yeah, man, like he was the type of guy that like another grown man like yourself would meet and be like, he's so cool. He makes you feel like a kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, he was an incredible guy.
Through all the fame and money that came about, was there ever like a weird rough patch that you hear about happen between Rob and Big, or you and Big, or just the whole trio?
Yeah, so they talked about that a little bit. Like at the end of Rob and Big, they got Rob and Big Black got a little just frustrated, man. I mean, it got blown way out of proportion at the time, like in press and stuff, that there was some big battle and they hated each other and all that stuff. And that wasn't it. But they were really, truly like absolutely best friends. And I think at that point, like everything changes so quick and life changes so quick and everyone has deals coming in and obligations and all this stuff. And so towards the end of Rob and Big, they just got frustrated with each other and with the dynamic and with having to be forced to sit and be funny every single day. And it did, get to that point, but nothing, Big Black had a kid at the same time. He moved to Texas, to raise his kid. He really wanted to raise his kid in like a normal place, not in LA. That was really important to him. And by the time he felt like she was old enough for him to take some time away is when he came back and was on, like, I think season 4 or 5 is when he started back on Fantasy Factory with us. So it was never anything long-term or anything real serious. But yeah, there was like a patch when it just got like chaotic and stressful, But never me. I was always just, hey man, what's going on here? What are you guys doing?
You're just a young, unassuming kid.
Young guy, yeah, like what?
That decides to build his business up. Why everyone's running around doing crazy things, ziplining through the warehouse.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Is that still going? Is the Fantasy Factory still open?
No, it's gone. Well, it's like a regular shipping company. I forget what they ship out of there. Maybe like fruit or something. But the funny thing is he actually leased the building. So he leased the building, and props to him. He took the risk before being sure that the show was going to get picked up. So once it got picked up, obviously he got a lot of help from DC and Monster and all of his sponsors. But he leased that building and then built all this crazy stuff, most of it in cement, obviously with no approval. And then about 2 years ago, the lease was finally up. He was still working down there, even though we weren't shooting. He was still working down there every day and all that. But finally, the lease was up, and he They tore it all out. Like we have photos of it, like them like jackhammering all the ramps and everything out. And now it's just a regular old shipping company.
Who pays for the demolition of the like you said, it's done in concrete. If you lease the building, does Rob have to pay for all that?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's like if you rent a house and you renovate it. I'm like, hey, we don't want a fish tank above the TV. Get this out of here when you move out.
Yeah, or like you lease, even simpler. Like imagine you lease a car and like you put rims on it or paint like some of the accents or whatever. When you turn it back in, you got to have it back to how it was. And so the same people that built all the stuff came back in and jackhammered it all out. And he had literally built like new offices. Like he renovated the entire thing. And so obviously they left that, but all the ramps and the cement stuff, he had to pay to get ripped out.
Man, good for him. He's just living the dream, man. Does he have a kid now?
He has two.
Two
kids. He has a son and a daughter. Yeah.
Wow. What about you? Do you have any kids?
I do not, man. I'm still. It's funny. Like all my friends, my business partners are older than me. I spend a lot of time with them. Rob's 13 years older than me. I became friends with a lot of his friends. They're all 10 plus years older than me. So now they're all having kids and like married, and I'm just kind of like left out here, like feeling like I'm the loser of the group or something. But like I'm still only 31, so I'll get there. It's definitely a goal of mine, but I'm not in a hurry, man. I see like the realities of like my friends having kids, and it's real.
Well, just don't marry a crazy girl. That's what I tell people.
Tell me about it.
It's the biggest. My brother always says like it's the biggest decision, like the most important decision you will ever make is who you choose to marry. And I think about that. I talk about that with my wife. Like we've been married a long time now. And I was like, man, we really jumped into this thing without knowing each other too well. This could have ended up very badly. Like I got very lucky.
Yeah, it's so true, man. What's really funny, like that was actually, speaking of Big Black, that was a big thing Big Black used to say, was like, you just like have fun, do your thing, be very careful because you don't want to have a baby with a crazy girl either. Yeah. And like, just don't ever go down that road. As long as you like end up chilling out one day and marrying a good girl, it'll all be fine.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Not only you're in LA, so it's not reality where you live. It's a weird world. And then you have this level of fame, so people know you. I don't know how you can meet anybody that's normal.
And it was worse when like I had a successful business and people knew that I was making money, right? Like, so when I moved here and I was on TV, I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. Like I thought that was the crazy part. But what's funny is when Young and Reckless became successful, and so all of the people who were worried about money knew now that I was making real money, that's when it got real weird, But I'm lucky. I mean, I have that Ohio brain still, right? Like I was raised right. I'm from Ohio, and the people that I surround myself with are good, smart business owners, regular people. Like you don't catch me hanging out with celebrities and hanging out with those type of people. I don't, in small doses, sure, but those aren't the people that I go to for advice or like where to meet my next girlfriend. So if you do that, you'll be okay. It's when you get fully wrapped into this world where you think, these club promoters and these people are like your real friends. That's when life gets a little weird.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of random people pitching you all kind of crazy ideas now, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And I will say this, though. We always have, so I'm kind of used to it. Ever since Fantasy Factory, where a lot of that was based around businesses, people have always pitched us business ideas and stuff. The one thing that I will say that's good news is like, it seems like people have gotten a lot smarter. I don't know whether it's the internet or whether it's access to better information, or maybe it's that like I'm talking to a different audience now. I'm not sure, but like most of the ideas that I hear aren't bad, and most people really just want to learn. I think people like Gary Vee have created this following of people that want to learn because he always preaches that, like find a mentor, blah, blah, blah. And so I get so many messages now that are just like, hey, can I intern for you, or can I work for you for free, or can I just have coffee with you and pick your brain or whatever. So it's actually a lot cooler than like, hey, look at my idea for this new like scooter that with flames out the back of it. You know what I mean? Like it used to be the stupidest stuff.
Are you open to that when random people will reach out to you if they seem like they are serious? Will you meet with them and let them intern for you at times?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hard for me to do. The only part that's hard is like real jobs of any length, or even like internships or whatever, because things are moving so fast here and there's so many moving parts that like I don't want to disrupt that. And God forbid you get someone who's a little bit on the like creepy side and not the entrepreneur side, you cause a real jam up for your employees. But what I'm really open to is just having quick discussions and just talking. And as I get better at like doing my podcast and trying to do more content, like I do think there's a lot of value in me being able to document some of those meetings and put some of that stuff out, and I think if I can go have coffee with an 18-year-old kid that has questions and film that and put that out, not only does it help that 18-year-old kid, but it helps probably a lot of 18-year-old kids with similar questions that just didn't get a chance to come have coffee. So obviously I was lucky enough to have a lot of mentors and soak up a lot of information. So I want to make sure that as I get older, I'm giving that information back. That's important to me.
Yeah, I think you hit on that, saying that people are smarter now. Kids are smarter. I feel like it's like a shift to where it's almost cool for kids to be like hustlers and up and comers, entrepreneur type, have that mindset. Like in high school where kids are like, no, I'm coding, I'm building some kind of business, I'm doing something. Yeah, there's plenty of douchebags on Instagram trying to be bros, but there's a lot of, I don't know, I feel like there's a shift to where it's not cool to just be a lazy dude that smokes weed all day in high school. It's like people are, I don't know, they're going out there and making things happen, and it's not just like the old school, I'm going to graduate high school, I'm going to get into a good college, I'm going to get a good 9 to 5 and call it a life. It's like you have a formula to where kids now, I don't know, they seem motivated, I guess.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that I keep giving that, man, because I think that's like I said, if you really look at my life and look at my story, I mean, the life I'm living now is like light years ahead of my biggest expectations. And I think that's an incredible gift. And sure, I have a hustler spirit and I don't ever stop, and I want to learn and I want to apply and I want to go to the moon. But really, I've been very fortunate by getting a lot of information and being exposed to a lot of stuff. And I want to give that. And I don't know, to your point, I know why people don't want to go to college anymore. I think, long story short, that's because when you didn't have access to the truth, you only had access to what your parents or your teachers tell you to do. You don't know what entrepreneurs do or what business owners or founders do. You just know what your parents and teachers tell you. So what they tell you is do good in school, go to a good college, and that gives you a happy life. But what ended up happening is for years, people followed that model, and people's parents ended up in debt, depressed, not living their dreams. People's older brothers and sisters ended up covered in student debt, not living their dreams, more lost than ever. And then these young kids are now able to simultaneously see all these people online actually doing what they want to do. And I didn't go to college, and a lot of these people didn't, or maybe they did, but they had a reason why they did, and they have a way to navigate it. And I think when you're exposed to that real information, it's hard to just listen to your mom saying go to college for the sake of going to college. And I think that's actually really cool. And I think part of my job is to not just say, don't go to college, drop out of school. I don't want to be that guy, but I do want to tell you what I've learned and what I've learned from talking to all these other people about why and how to make that decision. It's just cooler than ever. It's not cool, like you said, it's not cool to be a loser. It's also not cool right now to be a rich douchebag. Yeah. Like, it's not cool to post like, look at my car, look at my watch. Like that used to be cool, and that's not cool anymore. Right now, it is cool to be working hard, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, and show your real life. That's what's cool, and that's pretty dope.
Being vulnerable, I think you hit it right there. That's the shift. It's never, because people they just want to show their best life. Oh, this is great. I'm traveling. I'm in Cabo. I'm all over the world. I do amazing things. And people put out these fake life, but you're right. I think, young people aren't scared to be vulnerable. And then you're like, oh, wow, I can actually relate to this dude. Everything's not perfect.
Yeah, man. It used to be like, how much can you be better than everyone else? Because I remember feeling it. I remember when Instagram was first getting going, and I was doing really well on clothing. And it felt like the more real I was, the less connected. But the more I could like show off and show how well I was doing, the more people would ooh, like, comment, oh my God, you're so cool. And then you watched it change and disappear, and it's not that. It's about how can you really connect with people? Are you really adding any value? Like, are you following me on Instagram because I am actually inspiring you, educating you, telling you something you didn't know, or not? If not, they don't care because they can get that information somewhere else, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Yeah, I love it. It's well said. There's a fine line, a fine balance, I guess. You're doing a good job of it to where out there hustling, grinding. That's the most overused term of 28
Sure.
now. Grinding. Okay, cool. Hashtag that in 2012 maybe. It's just it's old to me now. But sorry if you hashtag grinding Drama. I don't know if you do much or not.
I don't, man.
Okay,
Thank God.
Good for you.
I have the same belief system as you.
Okay, but yeah, it's like, but there's a fine line between showing and being vulnerable, doing these cool things, and showing how hard you're working, but also you can be a huge cheese dick when all you talk about is, oh, rise and grind. I'm just working, you know me, always, and posting videos of yourself wearing a suit. Oh, got 17 business meetings lined up. It's a weird, it's like anything. You got to find the right balance and find your little sweet spot.
It's so stupid. I hate, because you know what my biggest thing is? Like the work hard, like no shit you have to work hard, right?
Yeah.
It's like there are construction workers outside of my office window right now that have been there since before I got here this morning, working their asses off way harder than I've worked today. Like work hard is the no-brainer. And I think that when you just say work hard, I'm working harder than you are, I'm blah, 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 that's the dumbest thing you can possibly say. I think like educating people and passing along gems and trying to really say like, don't just work hard, think about this and think about that. That's a cool person. That's someone you want to follow, look up to, be friends with. That work hard culture kills me.
Oh, it's awful. Oh God, it's brutal. Everyone can see it. Everyone can see it.
Podcast about that.
Yeah, the guy that has all the answers. Everyone loves hanging out with that dude that has every single answer. Never. I always try to say that, man. There's certain people you're around, and I'll be thinking about it. I'm like, I've been around this guy for like 2 or 3 years, and I've never heard him ask me a question.
Yep.
Like it's just he's told me what I should be doing. That's not what you like. That's not how it is. This is the truth. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know you were Jesus Christ. My bad, bud. Like,
absolutely. Yep. You just happen to be best friends with Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I guess I'm lucky. We're not best friends.
Yeah. It's the worst, man. Especially in LA. Like LA is built around that, right? It's a city built around like who you are and what social value you bring to the table. And so most people bring none. And so all you can really do in that case is talk about yourself to like seem like you do. So it's a really common thing out here, but it just makes your radar a little tougher, And I think as you get older, you learn that that's never the answer, and you sort of learn how to weed it out,
Yeah, that's good. All right, man. Drama. Really appreciate it.
Hey, you're the man, bro. This is really cool.
Yeah, I had a good time. I enjoy your podcast as well. You had Wiz Khalifa on. I don't know how you and him. Are you guys boys?
Yeah, we just knew each other, man.
That's awesome.
Before, yeah, I've been really lucky. I had Kyrie Irving on. I had all these people on, and I've just built good relationships and whatever. And so when I have something legit, these people will do me favors, and I'm very lucky.
It's cool. Yeah, I think it's fun. You can tell you like it. You're not just doing it to do it because someone told you to have a podcast. It's fun to watch you do it, man. I know you're vlogging, everything. Young and Reckless, you're everywhere. Instagram. What's your name on everything?
So Instagram is Drama, just at Drama.
How'd you get that?
I just like 3 years ago. They gave it to me. Like they stole it from someone and gave it to me. So I got that at Drama. YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/drama. I'm trying to do vlogs. I put all the podcast videos up on there, but I'm just really trying to do as much content as possible. But just like you said, like I don't want to do content for the sake of doing content or because somebody told me that content is the thing to do. I want to figure out why I'm doing, like, what are you really going to gain from watching this video or, whatever. So that's what I'm working on there. Youngandreckless.com is the website where all the clothes are. That's it, man. Anything else is just a distraction. I'm just trying to pump. And the podcast is called Short Story Long on iTunes and on all that stuff.
Beautiful. We'll link it all up when I post this. But thanks again, man. I'll talk to you down the road.
Yeah, you're the man. Let me know when you post. I'll post on all my stuff.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.
See ya.
We're glad you could join us for today's conversation. After you subscribe to the show, head over to thehawkcast.com or reach out to AJ directly on Twitter at @officialAJHawk to recommend future guests that will help us inspire people to keep talking. Thanks again, and we look forward to speaking with you next time on the HawkCast.